Hi everyone and welcome back to JPS TV. I'm your host, Javen Smith. I've had my Vision Pro for the past week and I've been using it, watching movies in it, and working in it. I have some thoughts, but before we get started, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our tech discussions. Now, without further ado, let's break this down. This is by far the best headset that exists on the market. I'm not exaggerating. This is not a Vive, this is not an Oculus Rift, this is not a Quest. This is something totally different. Marquez was the one who said that this is a VR headset with AR capabilities, and I get why he'd say that. However, after a week of using it myself, I do think that this is a true hybrid. Let me explain. Despite the shortcomings with Passthrough, more on that in a little bit, the latency is so good that you can walk around in this thing and not get motion sick or crash into things. There's a reason we've seen a bunch of tech bros venturing out in this thing. For me, it's got just enough sensory awareness features and pass-through features that it makes the headset truly a hybrid, in my opinion. Speaking of crashing into things, Sam Cole's drop test video also proved that this thing is way more durable than we originally thought it was going to be, which is another plus. I won't spoil his video and I'll leave a link to it down in the description, but in short, this thing can take a beating. Maybe I didn't need to spend the $499 on AppleCare that I did. In all seriousness though, as I said in my original pro-con video, Apple Vision Pro is an amazing product. This thing is exciting. It makes it exciting to review tech and to be a nerd like myself in this time. For years, we've only seen incremental upgrades in tech. VR is largely the same as it was when Meta bought Oculus. Smartphones have changed incrementally since they were launched, but ultimately, there's not much more for those to do either, which is why we keep making them fold and flip and do other weird stuff. And AI really has a long way to go before it's making major strides in my book. But when I put this on, I feel like I'm looking into the future. I can see why Tim Cook has stressed for years, for the past several years actually, that AR is going to be the future. We'll definitely get there. Now let's dive into some of the highlights and lowlights from my experience with Vision Pro. Let's start off with hardware. This headset is built immensely well. It's such a work of art that I marvel at putting it on daily. The craftsmanship is 100% Apple, and even without looking through the headset, it's impressive. The Vision Pro has 5 sensors, 6 microphones, and 12 cameras. And you can tell, with all this technology inside the headset, the most important features of the headset work flawlessly. The features that I'm calling the most important are using your hand to click, eye tracking, and window placement. Those 3 features by themselves set the Vision Pro far beyond other competition, and not needing physical controllers for this like other headsets honestly makes it feel more human, which is always welcome. The outward-facing speakers on the Vision Pro are also great, although they do project outwards, so if you're in public, someone close to you can hear the noise. My personal preference will always be to connect AirPod Pros to the headset. The external display is fine, though the front glass panel is so reflective that it's hard to see what's showing. But I understand why Apple would want an outward-facing display, to show others what the current state of the person inside the headset is. Hardware and build quality get a solid A+ from me. Now, with all that being said, I feel like I do have to mention this with hardware. The headset is heavy. I mean, it's heavy, and you can feel it, like borderline hard to use heavy. And it's not like this is the heaviest headset on the market or anything. The Quest is heavier, but this thing is front heavy, which means it naturally pulls your head down in the front. The Solo knit band is masterfully crafted, and it feels great on my head, but I don't think I can use it with the headset anymore. The front weight is just too bad. Now, with the dual loop band, I do sit more comfortably, but I still haven't run the battery out of the Vision Pro in one sitting. I find myself leaning on my hand whenever I work in it like this. I really wish that instead of this awkward cable with the battery, Apple had somehow found a way to mount it similarly to the Quest so it could act as a counterbalance to the weight. You have to remember that there's 2 chips in this thing, and it's made of glass and metal. It's basically a lighter MacBook Air on your face. To be clear, I want to use the headset for the full 2.5 hours of battery life, but I just can't do it right now. Meta allows third-party manufacturers to make things for their headsets, and I assume there will probably be some that hit the market for Vision Pro too. The first manufacturer that finds a way to balance the weight of this thing on my head, I'm buying 3 of them. Not kidding. The weight isn't all bad though. It can actually be relaxing if you're in a reclined position looking at the stars or watching a movie, or maybe even doing a mindfulness session. When the weight's pushing down on your face, it can be kind of like a compress. But for active work though, or really anything where you have to be sitting up, I find it difficult to use. Most people will have to decide for themselves if the hardware features make up for the weight difference. For me, and what I use it for personally, yeah, I'll still use it despite the weight, but I'll notice it every time. Now, let's talk about software. Generally speaking, software on the Vision Pro is okay, which is just a step above functional for me. Does it do what it's designed to do? Yeah. Does it do it exceptionally? Well, it depends on the feature we're talking about. We'll dive more into these features specifically in a bit, but from a high level, they work, and part of that is due to the hardware being so dang good. Looking at icons and having the icon respond to my eye motions is absolutely incredible. And then I fully immerse myself in an environment and I pass my hand in front of the headset and things just get a little wonky from there. So let's dive into the specific features and experiences offered by Apple Vision Pro. First, let's talk about environments. Environments are one of the best features on the Vision Pro. They are very, very detailed worlds that are just shy of realistic. When fully immersed, you can hear the sounds you'd expect to hear in those environments. For example, in the Mount Hood environment, there's a light rainfall that you can hear through the speakers on the Vision Pro. Working in these environments is super fun too. Nothing like blowing my MacBook screen up 100 feet wide while I work in Joshua Tree National Park. I find no flaws with environments in particular, especially in FaceTime, but more on that later. Now, let's talk about Passthrough. If I could describe Passthrough with one word, it would be meh. I hinted earlier that I have some issues with Passthrough. It's fake, and you can tell it's fake. The best way I know how to explain it is with portrait mode on an iPhone. In portrait mode, when you're about to take a picture in the live view, you can tell that the blur is simulated. The same is true on Vision Pro. The windows are extremely crisp, but the second you wave your hand in front of the headset like I mentioned, the edges are no longer smooth, and sometimes my hand glitches entirely. To be honest, the quality of this is something I'd expect from Meta, not from Apple. It works, don't get me wrong, but for $3,499 starting price, I do wish it was better. Let's talk about personas now. In all honesty, I was reading comments from lots of people about personas and how weird or creepy they are. And to be fair, I totally get why people would say that. I compare it to the environments in the Vision Pro. Like I mentioned, they're very detailed, but just shy of real. And that's what people are calling creepy. But in my opinion, they're one of the best parts of the headset. They're an engineering marvel. To be able to capture all of my facial expressions and mannerisms digitally with this headset is absolutely insane. This is on the same level as the desk view thing with your Mac and your iPhone that Apple released in WWDC in 2022. Apple is making something super cool out of the resources they have available. All these sensors and all these cameras. It's amazing. On launch day, I spent about an hour on FaceTime with my friend just talking about the experience I've had with the Vision Pro so far. And by the end of it, he said he completely forgot he was talking to my persona. And that's what I think Apple is going for here. Not too real, but just real enough. And to me, that's cool. It gives Epic Games Unreal Engine, you know? FaceTime in general on Vision Pro is amazing when you add personas. I say this because spatial audio, a feature that I never really cared for previously, comes to life in Vision Pro. For example, if I place the FaceTime window above my head, I hear the voice come from above me. If I place it from the left, I hear it from the left of me. You get it. I haven't had the pleasure of FaceTiming someone else with a Vision Pro yet, but according to some other sources like iJustine, Marquez, and Brian Tong, the same spatial audio effect happens when they move their bodies physically. For example, let's say we're on a three-way FaceTime call. If I'm the person in the middle and I turn my head to the left, I can hear the person on the left better. They can hear me better. But what's crazy is the person on the right can't hear me as well at all. The same happens if the roles were reversed. That is insane. Add to the fact that if you go to an environment like Joshua Tree, you can even hear the voices bouncing off the rocks in the distance. Like, no offense to Meta, but Zuck would have never thought of that. It's a very, very impressive feature. Let's talk about photos and videos now. The internet really roasted Apple for its demo of spatial video. It's supposed to be this heartwarming feature, being able to relive moments that you've captured with either your iPhone 15 Pro or the Vision Pro headset. Personally, this feature in and of itself doesn't move the needle for me. It's just not high fidelity enough for me to pop on the Vision Pro specifically for this feature. On the other hand, panoramic photos in the Vision Pro are great. I was in the Bay Area 2 years ago, and I took a panorama of the entire bay on a really clear day. Having that panorama wrapped around me in a huge U shape made me feel like I was right back in that same spot. It was truly awesome. Between spatial video and panoramas, I'm personally going to pick panoramas here. Moving along, let's talk about iSight. This video wouldn't be complete without talking about iSight. I know what Apple was going for here, a way to make the headset feel less invasive and scary. If we had actually gotten what was advertised in the keynote, I wouldn't feel as strongly about this as I do. But come on, this is what they showed us. And this is what we got. This is worse than if I had just not gotten iSight altogether. Dare I say, it borders on false advertising. The screen on the outside, like I said earlier, is so reflective that it almost doesn't matter what the external display is showing. If a random stranger approached me and then this is what I saw, I'd run for the hills. I think it was Andy Anatko from the Twit Network who compared iSight to that feature we originally had on the Apple Watch and iPhone, where you could send your heartbeat to another person. Like, cool? But is it really necessary? Overall, just kind of not happy with iSight. Let's talk about what I use the headset for. I don't use the headset every second of every day, but I do use it pretty regularly. And not doing what I thought I would do in it either. Watching IMAX 3D movies in this thing is fun, and so are the 3D games, but what I really use this for is work. I pretty much laughed at Apple when they tried to tell us in the keynote that we'd be working all day long in this thing as some type of hyper-productivity device. But that's kind of what I do. It's definitely the most fun thing to do. Floating 7 different screens around you while you're chilling in the desert is awesome. Using the Vision Pro as an extension of my Mac is by far the best use case for me. My desktop, or my Premiere Pro timeline, becomes 100 feet wide, and now I feel like I'm in the Batcave about to hunt down the Joker. Like I said in my ProCon video, the windows don't move once you place them, so I find myself just grabbing my Mac and working from my living room instead of my desk. The setup is just as nice. So now for the million-dollar question. Who is this made for? This headset is not for the average consumer. This is a headset for tech enthusiasts like myself, and probably you, who's watching this video. I'll repeat what Brian Tong said in his original video. Anyone who's on the fence needs to try it for themselves. The Apple Store has free demos. Try it, see what it's like. I keep hearing people say that this is a developer product, and therefore they're not going to buy one. But those people are wrong. This is a consumer product. It's been polished and marketed as a consumer product. It's just a first-generation product. There isn't much available for it yet. It's also very hard to compare this to any other product on the market, especially from Apple. We can loosely compare it to iPad, Apple Watch, and Quest, but this is different. And mark my words here, this headset thrives or dies with app developer support. There is no must-have app on this product yet, just a bunch of cool stuff. And just like on the iPhone, the App Store and the ecosystem syncing is what makes this headset work. It's pretty much the main thing that Apple has over its competitors in this space. Apple over the next few months to a year needs to stick the landing and hard sell this to developers. It's a must. And that is my 1-week review of Apple Vision Pro. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe, as that is by far the best way to support me on this channel. Until then, be cool, be safe, be fresh, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.